Igu Galeta, who's the head of the Oromo Liberation Front's diplomatic division and is responsible, I think, for the relations of the Oromo Liberation Front in Europe. Mr. Galeta, you have 10-15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, Member of European Parliament, distinguished guest speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the organizing committee for having organized such a timely high-level conference, specifically UNPO and some interested European Parliament members. To say the least, the thoughts and initiation to organize such a meeting requires standing against the established mind setups and traditional working system of politics in Ethiopian empire. It is a first step to tackle together the broader interwoven major socio-political problems of Ethiopia. In view of this, I congratulate once again the individuals, organizers for their effort, and should say such a breakthrough move in bringing together different political organizations, civil societies, to deliberate on common agenda of liberty, freedom, justice, democracy, and peace in Ethiopia. This timely conference taking place ahead of the Ethiopian national election will enable us to attempt in reshaping the alternative approach of the political constellation of Ethiopia through dialogue, if not for relation, but for the future prospect. It is also my hope that through such dialogue, various possibilities of fundamental political situation in Ethiopia will be explored. Given such opportunity, taking such advantage, I just concentrate on two issues. The first, outlining the challenges. What are the challenges in Ethiopian empire? And in my second part, the way forward, the OLF's assumption about the future of Ethiopia. Let me start outlining without describing in details. The first challenge of Ethiopian empire is deep-rooted historical problems of Ethiopian empire itself. As we all know, Ethiopia is an empire state comprising more than 80 nations and nationalities. As it has been the case with all empires, the making of Ethiopian empire has been characterized by attempt to establish a single state through violently subduing all other nations and nationalities at the end of the 19th century. As the building of the empire was related to domination, suppression, exclusion and exploitation of the conquered peoples by the conquering nation was harsh and cruel, it became the prime cause for the chronic and fundamental political problems of the country. It is just because of this, all the political organizations since the 1960s, during the Ethiopian student movement, until today, the politics of the country is focused always on nation and national issues. So this is the major issue and the major problem to come across the border, to come for a common solution. The second problem or a challenge that we have to address is the mode of governing system of EPRDF by itself and the consequences of its hegemony through time. Back to 1991, when the Derg regime was toppled, we were part of the transitional government. The transitional government core principles were the right of nations for self-determination, decentralization of the state, and the liberalization of the economy. However, these core principles, through time, they were nullified and turned into the wrong direction. Since 1992, when OLF made a snap election, when the TPLF regime realized that through election it will not stay on power, it started controlling of power and put a genuine organization out of the normal democratic processes. Since then, ONLF, and some other organizations were out of the democratic process, out of peaceful promoting democratic process. That has been repeated in 2005 by Saudi and the other groups. Since then, the government claims he won the election in 1992, 1995, 2000, 2005, and 2010 with 99.6%. So this is the time when security, intelligence, judiciary, executive, all state apparatus of the country came to the one ethnic-based, one group. This by itself is a major problem of the empire. How EPRDF came to this power? I prefer to say how TPLF managed to this power. What were the contributing factors? Let me outline some of it. The first is a green light by powerful Western governments from the very beginning. The second one, portraying itself as a determinant stability factor for the whole. Third, superficial reforms and cooperation with international affairs. Four, utilization of the government resource, such as money and power, for the political gain. Five, empty promise accomplished with scare politics. Six, misusing federal setting to divide and rule policy. 7. Misusing the humanitarian aid. 8. Use of military and security force as extension of its political will. 9. The regime not only abused judiciary, media, and economy sector, but it possessed, took it as its own property. Today, there is no any single private sector that has been controlled by another company except that of Sheikh Alamuddin. The rest is controlled by the TPLF regime. The third challenge that the country has is the socio-economic situation of Ethiopia right now. Today, almost half of the Ethiopia's population live under absolute poverty. Second, human rights situation. Ethiopia is signatory in the state party of different conventions and covenants, but all sorts of human rights violation has been recorded within the country. Torture, extrajudicial killing, mass killings, rape have been recorded. That has been, if we take back to from the last 21 years without individual reports, if we consider only 1992 mass killings of Oromos in Water Street in Harar, February 1994 massacre of Ogaden Water area, April 1995 massacre of Oromos in Papu Gember Western area, March 1995 massacre of Oromos in Sigama and the Gatra region, March 2002 massacre of Shako Mezengir, May 2002 Loga massacre of Sidama, December 2003 killings of Anuaks genocide, 2005 after national election about 192 killed in the street of Addis, 2007 the Garasufi massacre of Oromos, 2009 mass massacre of Ogaden Kabribaya and Suri tribe of Oromos in December 2002, 2003 the Muslims in Asasa and Kofale region, and 2013-14 the Oromo massacre of Oromo students. This is a human rights situation in Ethiopia. The fourth challenge is regional and global issue, that is geopolitics, intrastate conflicts and effect of global terrorism. The Horn of Africa is centered by at least 9 hotspots or conflicts. The conflict between Sudan and Darfur, the conflict between Eritrea and Ethiopia, the cluster of conflicts centered in Somalia may related to Al-Shabaab, tension between the state of Sudan and Sudan, Abiy region, the conflict within the Sudan by itself now, the destruction of Lord Resistance Army in northern Uganda and Sudan, Somaliland conflict, Ethiopia-Egypt conflict. These are the conflicts that are shadowing the internal conflicts of Ethiopia. These are the conflicts that are attracting the international community and leaving the main issue, the conflict that is going on within Ethiopia. Other issue to be addressed is as well the demography of the country. The population grows and the booming of youth population, the age between 0 to 25 years is now accounting in Ethiopia for more than 65%. That is a natural problem as well. And another issue to be addressed is about the environment. Ethiopia is the roof of Horn of Africa, from which most of the drainage patterns are distributed to the other countries, but it is a place where, again, there is no care of environmental issue. The government is destroying virgin land of forest in the pretext of fighting the guerrillas of OLF or ONLF. The government is leasing the land with minimum taxation, the land grabbing. All these are against the environment. And the last issue to be mentioned about is the international community. The international community by itself appears to be a problem because all these elections have been observed, reported that they were not free and fair, but it's unfortunately failed to use the legal instruments against this election, especially by European Unions, where they have a chance to use the legal instrument, rather they will keep on giving an aid for the Ethiopian regime. Let me just go through very quickly what will be the way forward. All these grim political, economic and social situations suggest that Ethiopia is indeed at a crossroad. As some prominent social scientists and politicians asserted, it is at a crossroad between hope and hopeless, change and disintegration. What will be the way forward for opposition political forces to genuinely contribute for lasting peace or positive hope? With a very simple language, way for hope is to make working together, to make a coalition, to make an alliance. Have we ever been tried to make an alliance? Yes, we had working together during the Derg regime with EPLF, TPLF, which are both governments now. As the OLF, we were part of the transitional government. After the transitional government, we were also part of Paris Conference. After Paris Conference, we make an arrangement also with other opposition groups in 2000, and we had an alliance in 2006. But was it very strong? It becomes meaningful or not? Unfortunately, it never appeared to be as strong. Why? Let me sort out what was the problem. The policies that TPLF pursues in this regard is unfortunately the policy that was based closely on Stalin's theory of nationalism applied in the Soviet Union, under which each nationality would have only a nominal right to self-government, with the secession as an ultimate result. In fact, this policy has a dangerous mismatch between the development of social and political forces on the other hand, and the opportunities for this to be incorporated into the political structure in the other. The second, on the other group, the opposition political forces that see themselves as a pan-Ethiopian still remain in their traditional juxtaposition of individual versus collective rights, in which case they uphold the first while rejecting the latter. This means they fail to appreciate what has been achieved even on paper as far as the right of nation and nationalities is concerned. For this position, the alignment became not so viable until now. I've been told I do have only 3 minutes. The comprehensive political view could be the stumbling block to forge a very meaningful alliance between pan-Ethiopian and very nationalist forces. It is not the ideological difference to our concern, like that bringing conservative, liberalism or social democrat for the main difference of political forces operating out of Ethiopia, but the issue is how to interpret the past, understand the ongoing conflict, and anticipating the future in the nation building. I would finally bring to all of your attention that the Oromo Nation and the Oromo Liberation Movement are no avengers at all. Our history and culture will not permit us to indulge in such acts can be evidenced by our past leaders. Consequently, I call on the nations and nationalities in Ethiopia as well as in the Horn to realize the true nature of EPRDF and join hand in hand together to bring a long-lasting peace and justice to all peoples in Ethiopia as well as in the Horn. Any attempt of stakeholders by international community and political forces of Ethiopian empire to weaken Oromo liberation struggle by isolation, marginalization and splitting of OLF will never bring the aspired peace, democracy and development. Either the TPLF as it is now or opposition attempt to create Oromo named Cooperancicos will never help in solving any problem of the Oromos and vis-a-vis Ethiopia. To attain stability and peace in Ethiopia, the Oromo demand for freedom, equality and democracy must be met. The Oromos are not only the largest group in Ethiopia, but they are also the most centrally placed with whom the unity of the country would be under question. The Oromo liberation struggle is not directed against the mass of particular nation or nationality, nor against individual, but rather against oppressive system of successive Ethiopian regimes. Oromo's quest is a quest for freedom, democracy, justice, and peace. As the case with the most colonized and oppressed peoples, I loudly say that empowering of the Oromo people for fulfillment of their aspiration is a support for justice, but suppressing the will and the quest of Oromo people because of fear of their demography and natural resources, a fear of democracy and justice, assisting of minority regime for the sake of this fear is paradoxical, and it is negating the very basic democratic values on which Western countries are founded. Regulating minority rights, collective rights, and individual rights of humankind are the main objectives of international bills upheld by democratic government. Therefore, if principles are our guidance, I do not see obstacle in our own way not to stand united against TPLF, APRDF, brutal and undemocratic regime. Justice and democracy and peace shall prevail. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Geleta, Dr. Geleta, and thank you also for explaining in detail about the diversity of Ethiopia. I think very often, unfortunately, when we think about the country, we tend to immediately believe that there is one language, one culture, one ethnic group, and Ethiopia is maybe one of the greatest examples of the opposites, in the sense that, as Dr. Geleta explained very well, there is an incredible number of different ethnic groups and language groups who happen to be in the same country for some historical reasons, and who should all have the right to have their say.